Hey, Yellow Jackets. My name is Sadie Chism, and I am with the Lebanon School District. And we are here with Lebanon Now in Ozark Fiber Studios with Jeremy Brownfield. He is the Assistant Superintendent in Human Resources and Quality Improvement for Lebanon Schools. So, Jeremy, thanks so much for being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we get started, just tell us a little bit about you, your background. How long have you been in Lebanon?
Yeah, this is my second year in Lebanon. I spent the 17 years prior in Ozark, 7 years as a teacher there, 3 as an assistant principal, and then my final 7, I was the high school principal in Ozark. So excited to get my second year going here at Lebanon.
Awesome. And Jeremy and I actually kind of came on right around the same time last summer. So it's been kind of cool being able to see the growth of you, maybe hopefully you seeing growth in my role, and just both of us growing together to learn the Lebanon way because neither one of us are from here.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job. I mean, you're doing awesome in your role, and I am happy to be able to work with you every day.
Well, thank you. I feel definitely the same way, for sure. So just to get started with the session today, can you tell me a little bit about Lebanon schools and their long-term goals in the district and our strategic mission?
Right. Yeah. So when you think about our district vision of being an adaptive learning community that empowers all learners with the knowledge, skills, and dispositions to be ready for their future, that really impacts my work in 2 lanes through both HR and then the CSIP, which is our continuous school improvement process. You know, through HR, we want to recruit, hire, and retain quality staff and build capacity of that staff through high-quality professional development opportunities. In the CSIP realm, it all ties back to student achievement. We want to improve in the areas of student success, stakeholder focus, and operational efficiency. Those are really our 3 focus areas on our CSIP. How do we measure our progress towards that vision? We look internally at different student achievement data, postgraduate surveys, and then our progress on the CSIP, which we do internally through some scorecards. From an HR standpoint, we're looking at staff retention rates and then also external stakeholder feedback.
Yeah. So can you tell everybody a little bit how we receive that external feedback?
Right. Yeah, there's a couple ways. Internally, we have student forums and staff forums. Those occur monthly. Our student forums are at we begin at the middle school level and at the high school, and have different topics we visit with them on a monthly basis. Generally speaking, we'll come with a topic to kind of help prompt them, but a couple times a year we just kind of open the floor for them to give us some feedback on what they're seeing, and that's the same process with staff. In November, that's really our survey month. We do our annual staff survey in November. We do our stakeholder survey and our student survey. So, I would just encourage our parents and our patrons of the district, when they see that come out in November, to take that. The more data we can get, the better off we can be as a district. And really, in my role, I spend a large portion of December combing through that and looking for areas to either report back on or areas I need to share with some of our different CSIP champions on what the stakeholders are saying about their individual areas.
Yeah. And can you tell us what are CSIP champions? What are those?
Right. Those are our building administrators and some of our directors. They really oversee the 13 strategies that make up our CSIP. Again, we talked about the operational efficiency, the stakeholder focus, and the student success were those 3 categories of our CSIP. So there's 13 different strategies within that that will occur over the 5-year process of our CSIP, which we're in beginning year 3 now. So we'll be halfway through the CSIP midway through the year.
Yeah. And what is the most recent feedback that we've gotten from our annual stakeholder survey? What does that say? And also, I just want to point out those monthly meetings that we're having with middle school students, high school students, we get to hear what their concerns, what their worries are, what they're hoping for to get out of their educational journey. So those have been so valuable for us as a district. And also, the annual survey, we get to look back on those. Not only in December do you study those, but we're looking at those all year. And we even go back to previous years to see, are we having issues with the same problems? Do people see that we need to continue to work on one area of growth? So just tell us a little bit about what our most recent annual survey has told us.
Right. So it's kind of interesting. Some of our strengths were also some areas of improvement as well. But areas of strength were the quality of education, the facilities, teachers and experiences, the experiences students are getting. Especially with you and your role, just our reporting on our progress and just that transparency piece has improved, sharing out what's going on in the Lebanon School District. Interesting, some of our areas of improvement were facilities. You think going back to Proposition 4 and even back to Proposition Lebanon Schools, there's been a lot of improvement for our facilities. So we don't necessarily view that feedback as being negative when that's identified as an area of improvement. I think that says that our staff, our students, our stakeholders like what they're seeing in that realm of improving facilities, and I think that shows and demonstrates that they would like for us to continue along that path. So kind of some interesting feedback there we got, but again, it really highlights some of the good things that are going on in the district.
Yeah, for sure. So in a human resources role, what kind of strategies do you implement to retain high quality staff?
Right. I think it really goes back to 2018 when the community said yes to Proposition Lebanon Schools.
Yeah.
For us to become competitive in our salaries is really the most powerful recruiting tool, that we have from that aspect. Looking at our salary and benefits committee, looking at different opportunities we have to improve our benefits with them. That's one way we recruit and retain. We have to expand initiatives to grow our own. We want high school students to grow up to be teachers, and we want them to come back here to Lebanon and serve the district that brought them up. So, and then really the district as a whole, when you think about, and personally, I think it's what attracted me to Lebanon is leading in various initiatives, whether it be the Success Ready Student Network or the real world learning opportunities. I'm a case study, I guess, myself. I wasn't looking to leave, my prior district, but when the position came open and I looked at the different things that, the Lebanon School District is really championing, I wanted to be a part of it. So I think that's a big key to where we're at currently in staffing.
Yeah, and it has been really, really awesome to see what the district has done with the SRS and the Success Ready Student Network, and just the real world learning opportunities. Our back to school mailer is about to come out, so plug for that, but you will see a story about two students who just graduated in May, walked the stage in May, and they're coming back to serve in our district in Easter Elementary. So that is just a testament to the work that's being done. These students got that hands-on learning. They were in classrooms, got to ask mentor teachers questions and be in front of the classroom instead of behind the desk. So that was so powerful. And really, there are so many great things happening here in Lebanon. So one thing I want to kind of ask you about, which kind of goes with what we were talking about, but our district typically has around a 10% staff turnover rate, but this year it's down to around 6%. So why do you think that is?
Right. Again, I think you will hear me say it from my role over and over again. Proposition Lebanon Schools, becoming competitive with salaries. I think some of the salary and benefit work, especially since COVID, I think a lot of folks really evaluated what it was they wanted to do and how long they wanted to be a part. So, I just think some of the strategies we've put in place since that time has helped that turnover ratio. And also, in times when the economy is good, I think with all industries, you're relatively consistent with your staffing. So I think all those factors combined are probably what has allowed us to really see that ratio drop, and we hope to continue to engage with our staff and our salary and benefits committee and really look and we compare to 20 other districts around Southwest Missouri, and we want to be as close to the top of that as we can. So as long as we will continue to do that, I think we'll remain competitive. Mr. Dameron, our CFO, he identified this year that really our middle of our salary schedule for our teaching staff, especially those with a master's kind of mid-career, we're lagging behind, and that was something that he really focused on as he developed the budget for this year, that we could address and keep those teachers, because a veteran teacher with a master's, that's a high-quality educator that we want to keep in our district.
Absolutely. And we're so grateful also to our board who wants to advocate for that to happen as well. Right. So, yeah, so grateful for all of those different aspects. So, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest HR challenges facing school districts today, and how is Lebanon specifically addressing those challenges?
Obviously, number one, it's teacher shortage. Universities are preparing fewer educators, fewer college students are wanting to go in the field of education. Again, partly a function of the economy, past election cycles and national narratives haven't probably glorified the teaching profession as it deserves to be. It's a very worthwhile profession, but again, the national narrative hasn't necessarily pointed to that. So, really, that's our biggest challenge. And again, some of the things I mentioned, just the communication with staff and being open to the feedback and continuing to maintain those efforts to be competitive in those areas. Over half our staff is also support staff. We employ almost 800 staff members. About 370 of those are teachers. Mm-hmm. So, the remainder are support staff. So, we want to remain competitive in those wages as well. So, again, Mr. Dameron looks at that and tries to address that. Obviously, with some legislation, minimum wage going up has impacted that. Schools were an entity that were exempt from some of that legislation, but we chose as a district that we needed to remain competitive here in Lebanon to address some of those issues. So, again, just trying to remain as competitive as we can possibly be in the region.
Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned earlier was Proposition Lebanon Schools. And through that, we, like you said, have tried to remain competitive. Nearly 80 cents of every dollar is going directly to our staff. And that is something that I'm extremely grateful for. We are doing our best to continue to remain competitive and support our staff.
Absolutely. There was a great deal of pride in the community and around our schools as part of our survey process. That was one of the things that kept coming up was pride, and when the community steps up like that, I think that's a result of that pride and wanting what's best for our students.
Absolutely. So how would you say that our district balances the immediate needs of our staff along with the long-term goals of the district? Right.
So, that process starts in the fall, looking at our student-staff ratios, looking at enrollment trends, looking at our, cohort projections as far as our number of students. Much like Mr. Dameron would do a long-range budget forecast, we do long-range student projections to look at our growth. Our grade level centers at our elementary is somewhat of a unique model where those students transition every 2 years. So we look at how the students progress through those buildings, the cohorts, and as an example of this year, we had a large group at Maple Crest who transitioned to Boswell. So we had to transition a couple teachers with that group to accommodate for the size of that class. So in the short term, we kind of address things in that way. But long term, we want teachers with a growth mindset, someone who's open and willing to accept some of the challenges and the real world learning experiences for students. And it's just, we want them we ask our students to grow. We know we're preparing them for jobs that don't exist today. So our staff has to be flexible and adaptable in in their own professional learning to be able to prepare students for a future that's somewhat unknown on what they're going to do when they graduate.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about real world learning, but I also want to put it out there. We still have traditional learning, of course. It just gives students the option to be able to choose how they want to go about their education.
Mm-hmm.
They are truly getting behind the wheel and steering themselves into their future. And so we just want to be able to provide them as many opportunities as
Right.
we can.
Yeah. When you think about our portrait of a graduate, that's knowledge, skills, and dispositions. Those are the three categories, and the first one is knowledge, and that is that traditional, education, the reading, writing, and those types of subjects. So that's the foundation for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Jeremy, I have one more question for you. So what are some things from an HR and staffing perspective that you believe sets Lebanon apart from others?
Right. Yeah. In the region, again, we try to remain competitive with our pay, and I think continuously examining that and where we're at with other districts, and I think this past year with our 20 comparables, we were in the top 7 in most of those categories, and I think that's something to certainly celebrate. Career ladder is another opportunity for our staff to earn extra pay. Depending on where they're at in their career, they could earn up to $5,000 for, different efforts that they may do throughout the year. And that's not something all schools choose to do in the state of Missouri. Some fund it locally. We use the state grant to fund a portion of that to get it to that $5,000 level for those who are on the highest stage of career ladder. So that's a great opportunity. In the past couple of years, we've really worked on our leave policy for staff. In the past, that was some sick days and some personal days. Now it's all PTO, how they choose to use that. So that's been a big benefit. Also, when we look at on the back end of their career, some different retirement options, some leave buyback options they have, and some different accounts that they could put that money in to help them upon retirement. So just really looking at that benefit package as a whole for our staff is really something that I think is to be celebrated and really sets Lebanon apart from other schools in the region.
Absolutely. Yeah. All of those are so great. Very informative. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. And Lebanon Now, Ozark Fiber Studios, thank you so much. Yellow Jackets, I hope you learned something today. Enjoyed the segment. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Bye.